Hello trucker family, this is Kevin with the trucker side. As you know, our team is always on the trucker side. We're back here with another weekly video of the loads we book. But first of all, I want to say a big thank you to everybody who's following the channel, everybody who's watching the videos. We appreciate that a lot. I want to say thank you to everybody who's working here and is part of these efforts that we're doing to run these trucks, to book these loads, and so on and so forth. Big thanks for everybody. We appreciate you more than we can say. I'm saying this thanks on behalf of our entire team. You guys are great. Thank you so much. We'll start with our weekly loads here, and we'll start off with Manuel. Manuel is hauling a dry van. He had 4 loads this week. Started off in Chicago, Illinois, going to Cleveland, Tennessee. 601 loaded miles, paying $2,500 for the average of $4.16 a mile. Nice. 43,000 pounds of starch. Second load of the week, Dalton, Georgia to Belmont, North Carolina. 291 loaded miles, 29 empty miles, paying $1,300 for the average of $4.47 per mile. Very nice load. 43,000 pounds of plastic pallets. Third load of the week out of North Carolina, Conover, North Carolina to Houston, Texas. 1,046 loaded miles, 42 empty miles, paying $2,700 for the average of $2.58 per mile. 40,000 pounds of insulation product. And then the last load of the week, LaPorte, Texas to Hastings, Minnesota. 1,197 loaded miles, 25 empty miles, paying $4,250 for the average of $3.55 per mile. I do not have the commodity and the weight over here, but it was a legal load, that I can tell you for sure. All in all, 7 days of work, Monday to Monday. We got 5 digits over here, $10,750 gross for the truck, for 3,135 loaded miles, 96 empty miles, totaling 3,231 miles, for the average of 343 on the loaded miles and 333 on the total. Next we have Corey. I think it's the first time Corey's making the videos. Good job, Corey. Corey's newer with us, so welcome to the team. Great guy, great runner. Appreciate having you on board. Corey had 4 loads this week. Started off in Kansas, Osborne, Kansas to Antioch, Tennessee. 829 loaded miles, paying $2,000 for the average of $2.41 per mile. 45,000 pounds of Japanese millet. Seemed to be some sort of seeds. Didn't know exactly what they were, but I guess we live and we learn. Then for the second load of the week, we went from McEwen, Tennessee to Pascagoula, Mississippi. 513 loaded miles, 66 empty miles, paying $2,000 again for the average of $3.90 per mile. 20,000 pounds of metals. Light load, good money, good deal. Third load of the week, Mobile, Alabama to Gordonsville, Tennessee. 492 loaded miles, 40 empty miles, paying $2,000 again. Seems like these $2,000 are pretty common this week. For the average of $4.07 per mile. $4.07, not bad at all. This was a load of 45,000 pounds of aluminum bars. And then the last load of the week, Mount Juliet to Ponca City, Oklahoma. 724 loaded miles, 36 empty miles. This time the load was 3,000, not 2,000, averaging $4.14 per mile. Best paying load of the week, both in average per mile and gross rate. 28,000 pounds of food products. Very good week. Monday to Monday, $9,000 to the truck for 2,558 loaded miles, 142 empty miles, totaling 2,700 miles, for the average of 352 on the loaded miles and 333 on the total. Great job, Corey. Keep these weeks going. Great job, dispatch. You are doing a great team. Then we have Shelby in the video again. Shelby is always a hard runner, so Shelby is a sort of a regular over here. Appreciate you, Shelby. Good job. Shelby had 3 loads this week. He's also hauling a dry van. Started off in Omaha, Nebraska, going to Ridgeway, Virginia. 1,148 loaded miles, paying $4,500 for the average of $3.92 per mile. 39,000 pounds of cosmetic products. Then for the second load of the week, he went from Concord, North Carolina to Richmond, Virginia. 271 loaded miles, 110 empty miles, paying $1,300 for the average of $4.80 per mile. 40,000 pounds of paper. Very nice. And then out of the East Coast, the third load of the week, Suffolk, Virginia to Sherman, Texas, 1,319 loaded miles, 83 empty miles, paying $3,000 for the average of $227 per mile, 40,000 pounds of industrial products. All in all, 6 days of work, Saturday to Friday. Shelby grossed $8,800 for the truck for 2,738 loaded miles, 193 empty miles, totaling 2,931 miles for the average of $321 on the loaded and $3 even on the total. Good job, Shelby. Good job. Good job, everybody. Then we have Mike. Mike is hauling a reefer. Had 2 loads this week. Master did again with 2 loads. Good job, Mike. Good job, dispatch. Started off in Yakima, Washington, going to Lubbock, Texas. 1,715 loading miles, paying $4,450 for the average of $259 per mile. 33,000 pounds of apples. Temperature set at 33 degrees continuous. And then out of Texas, going back to the West Coast, Amarillo, Texas to Woodburn, Oregon, 1,684 loaded miles, 120 empty miles, paying $5,400 for the average of $321 per mile. Again, 33,000 pounds of frozen beef, temperature set at -10. Very nice work, 33,000 pounds all week long, 6 days of work, Friday to Thursday, $9,850 gross for 3,399 loaded miles, 120 empty miles, totaling 3,519 miles for the average of 290 on the loaded and 280 on the total. Very good job. Not the highest average per mile of the week, but it was only 2 loads. It was consistent miles. Solid work. Good job, everybody. Then we have Jay. Of course, Jay is surprising everybody again. Good job. Good job over here. I'm a little emotional to even talk about this, but here we go. 2 loads this week, hauling a flatbed. Started off in Salt Lake City, Utah, going to Laredo, Texas. 1,380 miles, paying $3,400 for the average of $246 per mile. 46,000 pounds of aluminum bars, no tarp needed, strap and go. I know everybody's going to say this was not a great rate, but the load was going into a great area, so as you will see here in a sec. The second load of the week, Laredo, Texas to Ely, Nevada, 1,520 loaded miles, 8 empty miles, paying $8,000. This is what made the week. This is what broke the books. This is what broke the bank. $526 per mile. Very solid work. 42,000 pounds of steel poles. No tarp was needed. These were 5 days of work, Monday to Friday. Nice schedule. $11,400 for the truck for 2,900 loaded miles. Only 8 empty miles, totaling 2,908 miles for the average of 393 on the loaded miles, 392 on the total. Very good job. No tarping needed. Very good money. Very good averages. Very, very solid work. Very solid work, everybody. And then lastly for the week, we have Brad. Brad also did a great job with the step deck. 2 loads, 5 days of work. Started off in St. George, Utah, going to Monahans, Texas. 932 loaded miles, paying $3,400 for the average of $365 per mile. 30,000 pounds of containers must be secured to the trailer with chains. That was what he needed to use as in equipment. And then the second load of the week, Liberty Hill, Texas to Salt Lake City, Utah. 1,258 loaded miles, 347 empty miles, paying $5,800, averaging $461 per mile. 48,000 pounds of rocks. Very nice work, very solid. 5 days of work, $9,200 gross for the truck for 2,190 loaded miles, 347 empty miles, totaling 2,537 miles for the great average of 420 on the loaded miles and 363 on the total. Very nice work, everybody. These were all the trucks that we had this week. I do want to strongly encourage everybody, please share your loads or share your feedback, if not your loads. We would really like to know if we're doing good, and if there's anything that others want to ask us if we're doing good, we're here. We're always on the trucker side. If we're not doing great, we're always open to learning. So if anybody has any suggestions, we're here. We're still on the trucker side. We're always open to learning. Everybody's growing. Again, appreciate everybody that's following. We want to make this community big. We want to make this community large and knowledgeable and useful for everybody in the trucking industry. So again, this is Kevin with the trucker side. Thanks for watching this video and have a good day.